All right. Gender. This is a fun chapter to talk about, especially if I'm there, because we can argue about things. All right, so you've talked about how are they different already. I'm interested what your answers are, but oh well. But obviously the gender and how we learn gender based on our biology is a big part of our development, right? And why we act the way we do, how we think the way we do, that kind of stuff. Okay, so genetics, there's your picture, funny picture for the day. Genetics are obviously a huge part of this, right? We share most of our, 45 out of 46 of our chromosomes, so we're genetically extremely similar, and yet that one chromosomal difference changes the game, right? Okay, so we're just going to kind of briefly talk about the biology because really that's your biology class that talks about it. Okay, body fat. Who has more body fat on average? Women. Muscle? Men. Height? Men about 5 inches taller on average. Onset of puberty. Who starts puberty first? Girls. So they always say that boys are catching up. They haven't reached it, blah, blah, blah. Life expectancy. Who lives longer? Women. Which is so interesting, right? So many. I think that's fascinating. Okay, so you've got also the big hormonal difference we've talked about already is testosterone versus estrogen. I joke that our house is going to have a lot of estrogen in it with this next kid. Poor Mr. Marchman, because even our dog is a girl, so I feel bad for him. But there's a lot of good things about estrogen too. Yeah, so testosterone versus estrogen. Okay, so aggression. Obviously, I've painted a picture here. I'm framing this a certain way. But who tends to be more aggressive? It's men, right? Men are more physically aggressive. And you really see that. It's interesting at an early age, you see that. I had nieces and nephews, three nephews, like 4 nieces, something like that. Nope, I have more, 6 nieces now. But it's just obvious early on, the boys, like the game they want to play is they want to go shoot guns and tackle each other and run around. Now, is there a social component to that? Have they learned that? Maybe. But there is this naturally more aggressive at an early age as well. Now, are there aggressive females? Yes, right? For sure. So what is the evolutionary reason then for males being aggressive? Like how I ask this question a lot throughout the year. It is that men had to protect their family in order for their genes to be passed on. They would get the female if they're more aggressive, and you see that in nature today, right? Okay, this is interesting though. While men are more physically aggressive, women are more relationally aggressive. What does that mean? I wish I could hear your answers. We get known for being a little bit more passive aggressive, right? So a boyfriend asks, "What's wrong?" "Nothing. I'm fine. I'm fine." That is so aggressive, just not physically aggressive, right? I'm acting hostile, but in a more passive way, right? Girls can be very relationally aggressive through text and through social media, and which I'm scared for Hanley to grow up in. You guys can give me advice later, but there's that. Okay, the murder rate says 9-to-1 males to females. What does that mean? Does it mean that women are obviously males more aggressive? Does it mean that they can act on their aggression more, maybe? Okay. All right, social power. You've obviously heard of this one before. Men are socially dominant in society, right? I think that was, well, sorry, go on. And how is that seen? In salaries, obviously, you hear about the wage gap. It is true, right? Especially, like, in a teaching job, for example, my public school, you get paid based on years and master's degree. It's very equal. But the types of jobs that aren't based on that, men do make more. If you look on that little graph up there, females make 76.5% of male earnings in 2012. Okay. Leadership, males tend to have leadership roles in jobs. Overall, right? There's certain professions that women tend to maybe have more leadership. Education, for example. But then if you go to public school, I was just thinking about principals, guys versus girls ratio. It's definitely a lot more guys. Okay, political leaders, obviously, that's a straightforward one. The glass ceiling has not been broken. Will it be broken anytime soon? I don't know. Okay, so there's social power. Now, I like this one. Social connectedness. Interesting category. How do we differ being connected socially? Okay. Females tend to be interdependent. Interdependent means we depend on each other more often, whereas males tend to be more independent. Do things by themselves, and they're fine. Mr. Marchman, when we moved down here 2.5 years ago, and he would be fine every day going out on the farm on a walk by himself. Well, with us, maybe, some days. Whereas I moved down here, I'm like, okay, well, how can we get connected, right? How can we make friends? How can we do this? And that's a small sample size, but in general, that tends to be more true. Okay? Women tend to play face-to-face. That's a funny way to say it. But even as like little kids, girls are playing face-to-face, playing with anything. Dolls, just talking, make-believe, whatever. Whereas guys tend to play side-by-side more. So this could be watching a game, watching a sports game, playing video games, going outside and playing basketball. Whatever it is, it's more often it's side-by-side, doing something together, whereas girls are playing with each other. Like, as you get older, girls, I don't know, maybe you still play with dolls together, but maybe it's, hey, what can we do for fun? Let's go get coffee. Let's go get a meal and just talk to each other, right? Okay, this is funny. Girls send double the texts. Boom, were you surprised by that? Probably not. And guys have shorter phone conversations. How can we get past this, right? Mr. Marshman and I were long distance when we were engaged, and I was pulling stuff out of that phone conversation to get him to talk. Okay. Is this stereotypical, everything I'm saying? Yes. That's the point. Their stereotypes are there for a reason. Okay, so gender roles. This is a vocab word. Basically, they're expectations of how men and women are supposed to behave. And when do we learn this? At a pretty young age, right? How are men supposed to behave? Be tough, don't cry, boys don't cry. This is going back to where that sheet that you guys did about what phrases you've learned and what phrases you'll pass on, right? Girls, sorry, I'm just thinking, oh, she's just having one of those days, right? Or girls are supposed to be good housewives one day and be able to cook and clean and blah, 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 and if they don't, they're abnormal. Now, are gender roles changing over time, though? Yes, right? Gender roles are very different now than they were for your grandparents, which can cause friction. But there's still a good amount of that, and I'm going to kind of show you some examples. I'm going to show you this video. It's called The Good Wife. This is supposedly out of a newspaper in like the 50s. If you think about the 50s, it's this picture right here. It's, that Leave It to Beaver. Women are in the home. Guys go out to work in a little briefcase and come back in. This video plays on what that newspaper article said. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Gender. Ready, set, go.
Your goal is to try to make sure your home is a place of peace, order, and tranquility, where your husband can renew himself in body and spirit. Prepare yourself. Take 15 minutes to rest so you'll be refreshed when he arrives. Touch up your makeup. Put something decorative in your hair, like a ribbon or a flower. Be happy to see him. Greet him with a warm smile and show sincerity in your desire to please him. Speak in a low, soothing, and pleasant voice. Make the evening his. Never complain if he comes home late or goes out to dinner without you. Instead, try to understand his world of strain and pressure and his need to relax. Don't ask questions about his actions or question his judgment or integrity. Remember, he is the master of the house, and as such will always exercise his will with fairness and truthfulness. You have no right to question him. Listen to him. You may have a dozen important things to tell him, but the moment of his arrival is not the time. Let him talk first. Remember, his topics of conversation are more important than yours. Remember, a good wife always knows her place.
So my mom read that to me at my wedding rehearsal dinner to be funny. Obviously, though, that's making a mockery of what used to be. Right, so things have changed. Okay. Now, this. So we got gender roles. This is a little bit different. This is gender identity. So that's the first one is how are they supposed to act, right? Now this one is my own sense of how I feel about being a male or female, right? A person's sense of being male or female. So my own, how I believe my identity is, right? So for example, am I being a good woman? And that sounds weird. Like sometimes in the past, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. Sometimes in the past, they'll be like, okay, am I being the right kind of wife? Am I being helpful enough? Am I being, like nurturing our family well enough? So, like, how do I feel like I'm doing in the sense of being female? Okay? Now, how do we learn this? I mean, really, a lot of that is culture. It's culture. And what do I see out there about how women are acting and how men are acting? There's these role models there, and do I feel like, oh, am I acting Olivia Popish enough, right? Am I hardcore enough? Or guys, am I acting tough enough and all that kind of stuff? There's more to being a guy than being tough, obviously. But that tends to be a message out there for sure. Okay? So here's a theory. It's called social learning theory. And basically saying that we learn gender just like in any other behavior that we learn. And if you go back to our learning chapter, the big ways we learn things are through reinforcement, punishment, and observation. So this girl right here got her high heels on, and it's actually a lawnmower, which goes against gender stereotypes there. She's got her skirt on, and where do you think she learned that? Probably observing, right? Those are probably her mom's heels. So reinforcement, as parents, we easily reinforce or punish things. If a boy cries and their dad says, "Suck it up, stop crying," right? That's a punishment there. If they observe their dad taking, no, that's going to be weird. I'm trying to think of a more feminine behavior. stereotypically. Cooking. There you go. Cooking. Right? Miss Marchman loves the cook. Then they're probably going to learn a lot through observing there. I'm trying to think about reinforcement, too. Of Hanley, I want her to be a little bit of a tomboy. I want her to play sports. I'm going to encourage her and reward her for playing sports. If she doesn't play sports, it's okay. I'm not going to punish her. Our niece recently, or cousin, just got high heels. She's a 3-year-old, just got high heels for Christmas. And that is, their family's kind of rewarding that, right? I think anything is right or wrong here. Okay. Alright, now if you go back to the word schema in this chapter, a schema is a framework, a mental framework, right? You have a schema for cow, for chair, right? For cup. You also have a gender schema for male and for female, and those form early in life. And some things you assimilate into what is being a female, and sometimes you have to adjust and change your schema for what's a female. Different parents and culture, they're going to teach you different things about this schema. All right? So, one big thing about how we learn gender is out there in the media, and what toys are available. So this is marketed to a girl, right? Also marketed to a girl, hey, be a mom, right? Mom, not being a mom is fun. Obviously a girl there with their kitchen, doing the vacuum work, right? A lot. It's crazy for Christmas this year. Just looking at toys for Hanley. So much pink. And clothes. Clothes are like, I feel like 75% pink for girls. Alright, there's another one. Baby dolls. Alright, the Barbie. You've heard Barbie arguments. It's changed a little bit over time, but Barbie is like impossible. Her features, her her waistline versus her legs and her body weight and blah blah blah, wouldn't not support her and sustain her. But they've changed Barbie a little bit over time. But boom, you see that pink. All right, versus boom, a blue. It's just so interesting when you go look down toy aisles. They're very geared towards gender. Boys want tractors, G.I. Joes, Hulk Hogan. This is big growing up. Transformers. Now look, all boys in this picture. Why not toss in a girl, huh? Girls like Teenage Mutant Ninja, whatever. They like them. Okay, so my brother is an engineer, and he got this for my niece. Because it was started by, I don't remember what school she was at, but a girl in engineering school getting her master's or something. She was like one of 2, 3 girls. There weren't very many girls in her class. She realized that was a problem, and noticed that early on, girls are pushed a certain way in the toy aisle towards baby dolls, whereas boys have the Legos and boys have the Connect-A-Sets and all that kind of stuff. So she came up with this brand called Goldie Blocks. It's pretty awesome. It's got an app with it, and there's all these different things that she can make, but it's geared towards girls. But the skills are engineering skills, which is pretty cool. And there's a ton of things they can make. But they basically noticed there was a lack of girls' toys designed for those skills. Alright, just remember that, guys, girls. There's a big article about Target. A mom posted this sign. Building sets, and then girls building sets. Why can't they just all be building sets, right? And they had to change it. And so this is change. I mean, it's not fully changing, but our society is definitely progressing in this area. This is just wanted to throw this in. This is like my favorite toy growing up. Pogs, have you heard of it? It's pretty awesome. You could like make your own Pogs too. You could buy Pogs. I used to make my own and put my cool pictures on it. And then what you do is you bring your sleeve of Pogs over and you lay them down and you get these things called slammers. And you just throw them at them, and if they flip, then you get to keep them. It's pretty awesome. It has nothing to do with gender, I don't think. It's gender neutral, I think. Okay, so in general, how do we learn our gender? Or how does that become part of our development? It is biology, psychology, and the cultural, social influences. Right? There's obviously biological reasons why we act the way we do with gender. There's psychological reasons, your feelings of expectations and your own beliefs. And then there's obviously social influences too. All right, cool. Peace.